And now we are joined by one of our maybe most recurring guests on the Auld Triangle, I would say. A man who needs no introduction, but I'll give him one anyway. At one point, he was the biggest prospect, I would say, in Irish MMA at a time when the sport was really blossoming in the country. He's had a brilliant career, 8-4, ups and downs, different gyms, different countries. And Dylan the Nuke Tuke has finally decided to hang up the gloves. So we figured we absolutely have to get the man on for a chat. So Dylan, thanks for coming on. And how does it feel for it to be, I suppose, to be introduced as no longer an active fighter?
I fucking don't even feel like I've been active some of the time of my career over long stints of inactivity. But yeah, I don't know. I feel I've known for the last. So me and James had a conversation about 2-3 months ago. I've known since the passing of me nanny. So once my ma went, and that's about nearly 5 months ago, the 10th of next month. I knew. I was like, I don't want to fight without her, and I didn't. I don't really see it. I didn't feel it anymore. I just was like, nah. I kind of feel like I only came back over to Scotland because for her, like, you know, without sounding all gloomy and stuff, but I kind of had came to terms sitting in that little flat room that I was kind of done, and I was watching Ian come up through the Cage Warriors thing. I was like, that kind of should have been me back when I was a kid, like, you know what I mean, how I should have been handled. And I kind of got me bitterness out of me and kind of went, if it never happens, it never happens. And I remember my nanny crying to me one day in the house and being like, I loved when you were in the Tree Arena, and that was what this is what I meant to do, kind of thing. I'd love to see you do it again, and, you know, go off to Scotland and commit, like, you know. And anyway, like, she helped look after my sisters from that point on, and even before that, she was helping out with everything, and I was helping with everything. And then I was like, all right, fuck it, I'll go, like, you know what I mean? I was like, I want to go to James. I didn't believe in myself anymore, like, you know what I mean? I was like, I don't have it, like, you know what I mean? I was like, I'd come into KF and I'd still be doing really well, like, fucking exceptionally well for someone who didn't train at all, like, you know what I mean? But I was like, maybe it's gone, like, you know what I mean? And then I went over there and made it all happen. I think mostly to make her happy, like, you know what I mean? To make her knew that I was like, he's all right, like, he's not sitting in the flat smoking weed and just being a twat, like, you know what I mean? I just sitting in the flats doing nothing, just sitting in the gaff being a waster, like, you know. And then once she was gone, I kind of, I don't know, I looked at everything a little bit differently. Like, I was just kind of like, what the fuck am I doing here? Like, you know, I don't know. It was almost like I grew up over a week. You know what I mean? I always felt 21 or 22. I always felt like a little boy. Because I don't know, something in me always just felt like I could. I mean, nanny always has me. You know what I mean? I go home tomorrow. No matter what happens over here, I go home tomorrow. My nanny has me. You know what I mean? She's got me. She's me rock. Like, you know what I mean? I fucking wear that fucking wedding ring around the whole time. Like, oh. And I don't know. Then when she was gone, I was like, what am I doing here? Like, I was like, in 6 years' time, am I going to be better off kind of stunting and kind of bashing my head against this? And the definition is of insanity. You know, one of the things that my mother taught me when I was young, my mammy, like, you know, little know-it-all mammy, was like, the definition of insanity is repeating the same action over and over again and expecting a different result. Now, she was using that in reference to being with me fucking dad, you know what I mean? And I was like, so you must be insane. And I was kind of looking and I go, I am a little bit mad, but I don't think I'm insane. And I kind of just felt like if I just kept pushing, I was going to sit there, 34, 35-year-old, bitter old man, and I'd be fighting like for a 1,500 quid every 6 weeks or every 12 weeks, just for a bit of notoriety, a bit of claim. Maybe I lose some, maybe I win some. And I don't want to be that guy. You know what I mean? I don't want to be that guy sitting there just going, I'm an MMA fighter, I watch your record. You know, it's not really about the record. And it's kind of like, all right, like, so I don't want to be a journeyman, like, you know what I mean? My record is patchy as much as it sounds like, but in my head, it is, I didn't end 8-4, like 2 of the wins, especially the soccer kick, that should be a win. You know what I mean? I have that win on KTMMA where I won. It's an unofficial win. You know what I mean? So that brings me up to 10. And then yeah, I'll take the Sadiq one, but I genuinely feel like that was a bad stoppage. And then the only two official losses I would count, like officially where I got beat, would obviously be the Kazil one, close decision, and then when I got flatlined by else. You know what I mean? But other than that, I'm happy with how my fights and all went. I don't want to. I kind of feel like if I keep fighting, I'm just kind of repeat the same fights over and over again. If that makes sense, I'm gonna do the same thing over and over again, unless I go to fucking FCC or I go to Cage Warriors and take a dramatic pay cut, which would be acceptable with FCC because it's a small show. But like on big shows, and be another year and a half putting in fights to try and get to the UFC, and then be 31, 32, and be like, what from here? How long do I actually have here? Unless I have got like go on steroids and kind of boost their career. You know what I'm saying? That's a pretty long-winded one. 5 minutes of fucking I can talk, mate. I should have been a politician.
Dylan, I'm very sorry to hear about your nana. Obviously, it's been a tough couple of years for you with the passing of your mom and obviously your nanny as well. What I remember, I was chatting with you, I think, right after your mom passed, and you had a fight lined up, and you went ahead with it. I suppose, why was this different now? Was like, do you associate your nana with your fighting career by the sounds of things?
So I think it's kind of, me mammy was like my sister growing up. I love me mammy, but I didn't talk to me mammy for 5 years until she died. I kind of, my life, like nobody knows nothing, you know what I mean? Everyone sits here and like, think my ma had a stroke in the house, and about 3 in the morning, I don't know if I had fell asleep, I'm a late thing, and I heard the bang in the toilet, and she had fell and hit her head off the toilet. So she was unconscious, she had a stroke. She had like pneumonia and like influenza on her lungs, but my ma was like a rock solid old school little Dublin woman, you know what I mean? Like my ma was locked up in prison when she was 17, like 16, in the full female, like nobody knows that, like, you know what I mean? But like my ma was just came from rough, just a tough woman, like, you know what I mean? A little, where'd I get on me, you know what I mean? And she had a stroke, and I came in and found her in the toilet, and she was probably out for about a minute. And I've never realised how heavy a limp dead body was, like, until this day. Like, and I went to pick her up, and she was flopping. I couldn't move her. Ma was tiny, only probably about 50, 60 kilos, like, you know what I mean? And the bathroom was tiny, little tiny flats in D1. Anyone would know. I had to drag her out by her feet and pull her out into the sitting room. So like the way you would pull a sled, you know what I mean? Thank God for the OSI training me for that. I pulled her out, and I rang an ambulance, and fair play to the ambulance fella on the phone. I had kind of started CPR, and he kind of talked me through it, and I got a heart restart. But she had kind of been out for about 4 minutes, in or around 3 to 4 minutes. And they say 2 to 3 minutes is kind of the window of where we're going to have a little bit of complications, you know what I mean, if she goes to sleep. So she ended up surviving, thanks to me, you know. But when she came out of the coma, she wasn't really the same person, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? So for me, I kind of mourned my mother then. And then after, it was kind of someone that I loved her, but she wasn't really the same person that I had the same relationship I had with her. You know what I mean? So when she finally passed, I was upset, of course. But mine, like this is like, I've had a mad life, like, you know, like that I don't speak of mostly because I have 2 sisters, you know, that are babies, like, and I don't want, it's not anyone's news to know, like, you know, but a very mad life, like any D1 young fella growing up in the 2000s or the late 90s. I don't have to get into specifics, like, you know what I mean? There was epidemics going on around them times. It was common practice. And you know, when she passed, I was kind of like, whatever, but my nanny was my mammy. My nanny was my ma. She raised me, looked after me. You know what I mean? Anything I had, any Santi I had was me ma, me nanny, like, you know what I mean? Just come up to the house, bring food up to the house, bring me up, anything, take me out on the weekends. My first ever holiday to Spain, I got to go out with me godmother, Christine and Andrew, great people, like, you know what I mean? And my nanny paid for that, sorted all that, got my passport sorted. First trip to Disneyland with the school, nanny paid for that, sorted all that. All my MMA stuff, paid for all that. All me, anything I ever needed, and took me in off the streets pretty much, or out of in a really bad house, like really bad at about 14. Was expelled from school, was really bad, like, you know what I mean? Took me in, let me live with her, reared me, practically reared me all that time anyway. Do you know what I'm saying? And then from this point on was my mother figure from 14, the one who would, you know, she always gave me a little slap here and there, but she was just, and like, I love that woman so much, you know, and she was just me bestest friend in the world, like, you know what I mean? She was a great person, you know what I mean? And I trucked on and went through school, got back into school because of her. She got me through school and she got me into the competing thing and supported me every step of the way, got me over here, helped me every step of the way, always just been there for me. So for me, she's my man, like, you know what I mean? I don't mean to disgrace me own mammy by saying that, and I know me mammy knew that before she went, but that was me man, like, you know what I mean? And it's shit now, like, because she's gone, like, you know what I mean? And I can never get her back. But I just felt like after she was gone, I was like, I'm gonna now go a different route. You know what I mean? I don't want to compete. I didn't really want it anyway, but I kind of felt like I pushed everything on to kind of make her be happy. You know what I mean? Kind of thing. And then by the end of it, I was sitting there going, I don't want to do this for a kick, and I don't want to do this for people thinking I'm cool, because I don't care about any of that. You know what I'm saying? So then it was kind of just like, but my ma was just, yeah, I don't know. She's just me best. She was the best person in the world. You know, one of those people that like nobody could say a bad word about, and I think that's why I took it so bad. Of where with my mammy passing, it wasn't that big a deal to me. But like, say if my nanny, my ma, like had a passed 3 weeks before the Moose halfway, I wouldn't have even done interviews with anyone. You know what I mean? I would have shut down my whole account. I wouldn't have spoke to anyone. I wouldn't have been able to, like, I was like, I cry every single day thinking about me nanny. You know what I mean? I can't help it. You know what I mean? I can't help but be at home, and if I see a picture of that aunt, like, you know what I mean? So the grieving thing of that, of a whore is just incomparable. You know, and I thought I was like, this grieving thing isn't that bad when my mammy passed, and then when my nanny went, I was just like, oh fuck, even coming up to it, like, you know what I mean? So it was just, I don't know, it was a big thing, like, you know what I mean? It was like, oh fuck, and then it makes you look at things differently in life, like, you know what I mean? And I don't know, like, you know what I mean? But yeah, it was just, they weren't similar at all, you know what I mean? It was almost like, I can't even explain it. Like, you know, it was like a part of me died with me mammy, like my nanny, like, you know what I mean? It was like, you know what I'm saying?
No, absolutely. And it sounds like you had an absolutely beautiful relationship. And like, I remember chatting with you, Dylan. You know, you've been very open about this. You've kind of had you've been contemplating at least, you know, 1 foot out the door. Like, do I keep going with this? Do I not? And it always seemed to be more framed around, I suppose, the business side of MMA. You've never been one, and this is one of the things I respect most about you. You're very, very pure to your own personality. There's no pretending. If you like something, you say it. If you don't like something, you say it. And it's probably held you back in many ways from a career progression perspective, with dealing with promoters, etc. But
something James Dillon says to me all the time.
Yeah, but it seems to be like that was the headspace that you were in, as far as, you know, do I keep going with this? You know, if I'm gonna have to play ball, which you don't want to do in the way the promoters want you to, whereas this seemed to be kind of almost like the final straw of like, okay, you know, there was maybe a willingness to do it, or to do something, and now it's like, well, why am I doing this when, you know, your support system is no longer there?
My big thing as well in life is, like, obviously, like, did you ever see that scene from The Dark Knight Rises where Bane comes into the stock exchange and he, like, kicks the door in and he grabs the first fella, and the fella's like, there's no money here, and Bane goes to him, then why are you here? I feel like that's every MMA promoter in the whole entire world. There's that little scrawny, ratty cunt who says, there's no cash here, we have nothing here. You know what I mean? Like when you bust a drug dealer's fella's over down, it's like, oh, don't do anything, I'm not here, like, you know what I mean? There's no money here. And then they get robbed anyway, do you know what I'm saying? It's like the same with all these fucking ratty politicians. We're putting tax on you for your benefit, you know what I mean? Even though you're all broke, but we're all grand, but we're all suffering, we're all in this together. So I feel like for me, with promoters and stuff, it was just like, oh, yous are all rats. You know what I mean? Yous are just taking the piss with everything. And it's kind of like, I get yous need to make money, but it's kind of like yous are making extortionate amounts of money when everyone else is a broke ass bitch. And then we're all sat here and kind of expect to just be like grateful for it, sitting there like, God, this is great. Like, you know what I mean? And I was just like, nah, I'm good with all this. Like, you know what I mean? Especially with the activity point. If I hadn't been getting fuck on money and get put out 4 times a year, I'd kind of be all about like, all right, yeah, maybe. But like, when you're sitting there and you're telling me that we can make the same amount of money in Asda or the same amount of money in any kind of regular, I know this isn't me going, oh, like these dopes who work in 9 to 5, they're proper grafters. These cunts that go out and do 9 to 5. It's something I could never do. Do you know what I mean? But what I'm saying is, if I'm gonna get the same as that, why would I risk my health and all that kind of thing? And the promoters just don't care about that. Do you know what I mean? They just look at you like, well, he's taking it, so why won't you just take it and show? And I was just kind of sitting there going, nah, I'm good with this now. Like, do you know what I mean? I was like, it's not gonna get any better. You know what I mean? And I think I've said this so many times. In the time now, I'm a pro 10 years, and I'm getting offered less money off some shows than I made in my second fight for Bama. What? Like, what? You know what I mean? I'm looking around me and I'm like, how? Like, do you know what I mean? Why? Like, and I'm like, but that's what everyone takes. And I'm like, but the revenue, like, you're selling out a 2,000, 2,500 seat arena. The average price of the ticket is 80 to 100 quid. Like, you just throw that into fucking a calculator. You know what I mean? You're making bank. Like, how is there no money to go around? Like, you know what I mean? So it just was kind of sitting there being like, it was kind of like I was a broken record. You know what I mean? And every promotion I went, I came with an offer. They gave you an offer or whatever. And then I was just like, no, I want this. And they're like, oh no, we can't give you more than this person, or we can't give you more. And I was just like, how does that have anything to do? Bear in mind, like, I'm not even using managers, like, you know what I mean? Because I know that the manager is just trying to take 24% of something. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, he's not going to get me anything that I can't. You're telling me a manager can speak better than I can? Fuck off. You know what I mean? I'll talk better. I'll be able to argue my case here. Like, do you know what I'm saying? And it's mine to sit here, but they don't want to do that. They don't want to sit there. They want to talk to someone else that'll take a little tiny deal and they get 24% of it, and then sure, if your coach took 20% of it, you're saying half of it. It's getting taxed and all those. Just kind of sitting there going, it's not fortuitous anymore, and it never really was. But I could kind of lie to myself, and now I'm just kind of sitting there going, what's the point? And then James floated something in front of me. You know, I had a couple of plans in my head about what I was going to do. And James was like, how about you see how the full-time coaching goes? Like, you know what I mean? And I was like, I don't know, like, you're fucking great, like, you know what I mean? And he was like, I was like, I'm not as good. Like, I'm just being honest. I'm like, I can't do what you do. And he was like, you're fucking great. Like, you're good. Like, what's wrong with you? Like, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, I'm a great coach. But, you know, when you see someone, like, it's kind of like, I can imagine it's like an artist seeing Mozart, not Mozart, like a musician seeing Mozart play, like, you know what I mean? And they're like it's so good. Like, the way he explains things and stuff, breaks it down and stuff. I'm like, and I compare himself to that, but then compared to fucking 90% of the other washouts that fucking hold James, I shouldn't have James. I'm amazing, like, you know what I mean? But I was kind of like, all right, let's see how it goes. And he's like, I'll get you PTs, I'll get you classes, I'll set you beginner programs, as he always does anyway, but I'll push it a little bit more. And the financial difference is unbelievable, like, you know what I mean? And I can't put that kind of idea into coaching when I'm trying to train the whole time. And I'm a lazy cunt if I don't have a fight coming up. So it mostly just ends up me sitting at home depressed, just being like, oh, why do I not have a fight or whatever? Like, you know how fighters are, like, you know what I mean? As you get older, your body breaks down. I've never taken any kind of steroids or anything. So I'm 17 years in this now, just with weird and, you know, normal food and shit, whatever, pizzas, spice bags.
Just a one weed ban.
just a one, which is
those damn French.
Which is fair play to me, like, you know what I mean? Like, considering I smoked it in every single way, like on every single camp and all, like, I got the same test. So it was like, just them French rats. They are ratty bastards. So,
Dylan.
Oh, sorry.
Go on in.
You mentioned obviously the path you're going down now involves mixed martial arts. Was the thought process as you kind of get more comfortable with your decision to retire, maybe separating yourself from mixed martial arts altogether? Or do you feel that
I was thinking about that at the beginning, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I was going to be a plumber. I was like, because I have loads of mates and like that plumbers and that all went into trades, and trades are dying at the moment, you know what I mean? Especially with this now new AI boost stuff where they're like over in America, they're looking at, they're like going to look at like cutting 25 to 30% of the workforce or something through AI alone, like, you know. So remedial jobs will just be done away with, kind of things, you know what I'm saying? But, and it's like in any, I always said, you'll always need a carpenter, you know what I mean? Or you'll always need a plumber. And trades are just booming at the moment. And I kind of sat on that and I kind of thought, and I kind of looked at me 2 little babies sitting beside me, and I kind of had a chat with the missus, and I was like, and then I was kind of looking at my hands, and I was like, my hands are very clean looking. I was just like, I don't think it's for me. You know what I mean? I was just like, I was like, no. And then I was kind of like, I'd go back to college. I'd love to. Now, this is one thing I'm still kind of contemplating, is going into like being like a counsellor, like with like trauma and stuff, like, you know, with kids, because like I remember when I was younger, I never wanted to go counselling because it'd be some little posh big head looking at you, kind of talking to you, but like, yeah, like looking at him going, mate, what would you know about fuck all, like, do you know what I mean? And I've had these conversations with loads of people, like especially over here in Scotland, people that love to talk about growing up rough. I think it's lovely over here, by the way, like, you know what I mean? There are some spots, but compared to back home, it's like night and day, like, you know what I mean? And I'd just be like, oh, shut up, you know what I mean? And it's the same with this. I'm kind of like, I feel like if someone was to speak to me, a kid, I'd be like, no, I get where you're coming from. You know what I mean? I understand more than anything. I'm not sitting here trying to make you feel like in any way guilty, and I just like get it. And I get you don't even want to talk about it. You know what I mean? I'm kind of like one of those, and I was kind of like, I'm still looking at that. I think that would be a very good thing. And counsellors, I'd like to talk, so it would work out well. But then I was just like, and I love being around James, like, you know what I mean? I love the whole higher level ethos and atmosphere. It really is family, like without feeling culty, because a lot of gyms, even SBG, fell into that kind of culty feel, like, you know what I mean? But yeah, and then the coaching kind of, and then it's not like a job, is it? I go in, I do 2-3 sessions in the morning and do 2-3 at night. It's kind of like fucking, you know what I mean? You're going in and padding your mates, I'm going in and giving techniques to your mates. So sometimes I was sitting there grilling you, asking you questions for an hour, and you're just giving them answers, and you're kind of like, this is a great job, like, you know what I mean? I get 40 quid for this, you know what I mean? I'm just kind of sitting there going, next, you know?
And there is a form of counselling and guidance that comes with that coaching role as well.
Well, I feel like Ash Daly now, except not as cool and definitely not half as successful, like, you know what I mean? But I definitely feel like the way Ash was with me, I want the best for every little young fella that grows up, coming up through this. Like, and like there's 2 little young fellas that are coming up over here, 3 little young fellas, you know, 4, 5, 6 fucking little animals, to be honest. If I name one of them, I'm gonna have to name all of them, so I may as well just name all of them. And we have the 2 Oliphant brothers, Callum, and we have Aaron, you know, 2 absolute animals. I post about them all the time. Callum's fighting now on BMF. We have the legendary Steg, Stephen Clancy. Unbelievable young fella, you know, all 3 of them, such bright prospects, you know. And then you have Coy Sweeney. We actually can't get matched over here, so if any of you know any Irish matchmakers that have any 77 kilos or even 84 kilo guys that want to hide him, give us a shout, because he's an absolute killer. We have little Liam, I think it's Liam Payne, or Liam Graves, Liam Graves, little animal, high kick knockout, 2-0 now, I think. So many little guys on the team that are coming up, you know, just that I'm just kind of like trying to steer without being too hands-on. I'm kind of just pushing them a little bit. Like Steg could go pro tomorrow, like, you know what I mean? He's exceptionally good, like, you know, so good Aaron. They could both go pro tomorrow, and they're both exceptionally good, but I'm both like to them, he's a very young, and once you go pro, you can't come back. And I know that from first-hand experience, that I went pro way too early. You know what I mean? Me going pro at 19 was insane, like, it was ridiculous. And I'm just like, then hold off. What difference was another year that he'll make of experience? And then when you go in, you're ready to go in. One of the actual best guys that, now he probably left it a little bit too long, but Alexander O'Sullivan is probably one of the prime examples of who done it the right way. Do you know what I mean? Maybe a little bit too long at the amateur thing I took, but I don't think he went pro. I don't think he went pro that late. I think he had other issues going on in the gym and stuff that might have slowed him down, as in taking over the head coach role. But he is a really good example of someone that it's kind of like, that's a path to go. Like, do you know what I'm saying? Of where he's had this many amateur fights, a lot of experience, you know, some losses, a lot of wins, a lot of wins. And then he goes onto this Cage Warriors route, which, you know, I don't like the Cage Warriors pay, and I don't agree with it, but the path of it is nice. So if you kind of look at that Cage Warriors thing as like an apprenticeship, you could kind of be like, all right, it's all right, like, do you know what I mean? But so I always just try and guide them and just kind of like be like, do this and do that. But, you know, they have James Deal, and James is, you know, he's amazing. Like, he's not very, like, he's obviously very quiet, like, you know what I mean? But he's very, he is hands-on, like, you know what I mean? His mind is often like a lot of different plans and stuff, like, with everyone, like, you know what I mean? He has a lot of good ideas for everyone, so it's kind of like, it's nice to just be able to, I don't know, help a little bit, you know what I'm saying?
Dylan, there's a million ways we can go here, and like we could be here for about 4 hours if we let you
I talk so much.
Keep going. But I want to take you through your career a little bit, and I want to chat to you about, like, okay, yeah, it's coming to an end, but like there was a lot, it was a roller coaster. And I'm curious, like you're talking there about the young lads that are coming up, and probably close to 15 years ago, you would have stepped into SBG or into AGM for the first time. You can correct me if I'm wrong there. 17. Do you remember the first time walking into the gym, and what did it feel like? What did you feel like?
So I first started in Kokoro MMA, which was a gym ran under Shane Thomas, who fought Owen Roddy at Cage Contender 7, if I am not mistaken. She used a little blow.
But hang on now. Was that the Sheens were in there, and your man who fights out in Canada?
Yeah,
you are correct. I'm blowing. Ian's not.
100%, yeah. And James came way after me. So James came when we were down in the Ossory Road, but I originally started on the North Strand Road down in Ballybuck in a tiny little square place. Interestingly enough, Dan Henderson came over and trained for UFC Dublin there on the week. So he trained in with Shane, because I think SBG was being used by whoever, Rich Franklin, it must have been at the time or something, so he couldn't go there. So I started there, and I was like, what was I? I was probably only like 12. I was 12, but I was getting bullied really badly in school, like, you know what I mean? And I was like, me man, I wanted to go down here because my cousin Paddy was in here, and I genuinely just wanted my cousin Paddy to think I was cool. I was like, if I go down here and I go into the gym, I'll probably see Paddy, and Paddy will probably talk to me a little bit more than he does, like, you know what I mean? And that was pretty much me whole motive on it. Went down to this little gym, ended up coming an hour early because the class had been swapped from 11 o'clock to 10 o'clock. Leo Burdock came in. Don't think you will know who Leo is. Like a real old school.
The chip man?
No, not the chip man. Leo Burdock was like an old school MMA fighter back in the day. He had done really well at B-class MMA. So you was that little babies to me, like, you know what I mean? I'm so old. So it's like everyone was still fighting.
Did you know that Ian fought on a card with Brian Moore? Dylan?
Oh, yeah, you're a gangster. Sorry, forgot.
That's all right. It's not about me anyway. It's all good.
So I like, and people were still fighting in rings and all at this point, like, you know what I mean? Like, I remember going to a show and a show getting cancelled because it was too close to the ceiling, like, you know what I mean? Because they couldn't pick people up in the ring. Like,
there used to be a venue that used to have a chandelier above.
That was the one. There we go, up north, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He knows what I mean. So I remember walking in. I actually got a PT that day because none of the class was there, and I got to do this duck walk, basic like duck walk into a takedown, and it was the best thing in my life. I remember just going out and I was like, I don't know, like, it was really weird, but I loved WWE, so I must have kind of equated that and that wrestling as the one, you know what I mean? Whatever, like, and I just loved it, and that was it. And I was like, when can I go back? Went back the next Saturday. Shane was there, and I got to meet Shane. Shane was probably me first. He was a great guy, like a really, really great guy, and a really good coach. But just a really great guy, like, you know what I mean, and someone that a little young fella like me back then needed, like, and that was probably me. That was my first experience. It was really cool, like, you know what I mean. It was like, I don't know. I never felt good at anything. Do you know what I mean? I always played football and stuff, and I kind of was like, I'm all right, but there was always people a lot better than me. But then when I went in that day, I was like, I feel like all right at this, you know what I mean? And then spent 3 or 4 years there. I had 3 fights with Kokoro, felt like I wasn't really improving. Ended up fighting under Dara Kennedy, who ended up running it. I left Dara then and went to Team Rhino, and I went to SBG. I done really well in Team Rhino. I went down to a sparring session. I done extremely well. Me and Pato Wicks had punched the head off each other. And then I had really good rounds at Neil Seardy, and I went down to SBG, and I got tapped like 8 times in like a 5-minute round by Joey Breslin. And I just remember kind of sitting there going, I don't know anything. You know what I mean? Came back to SBG then the next week, and then that was it. You know what I mean? You kind of all know that story because you've been a part of all of it. Like, you know what I mean? But that was it.
It was a crazy time back then, though, Dylan, because it was so niche, mixed martial arts, in Ireland especially, you know, and it kind of from being, you know, somewhat involved in it back then, to me, it feels a little bit more special. It was like a little secret, you know, in comparison to what we have right now. And, you know, maybe it's not really maybe as accepted as I thought it would be in this day and age, but it definitely, you know, I enjoyed the little small community that did exist back then, and everyone was kind of just.
It was almost like a little mini fight club.
It was, yeah, it was, yeah, it was crazy time. It was this. I felt that was a special time in Irish mixed martial arts.
That was the beginning of that was the start of all of it. You know what I mean? That was the beginning of like everything, and even like because I wasn't at SBG at that point, but that was I would have loved to be a fly on the wall at SBG at that point, because I can only imagine what the team was like. You know, because you had Ash coming up, and you had Roddy coming up, and you had young Connor coming up, Philip Mulpey, or you had young Artem coming up. That was the start of it. Like, you know what I mean? So like that was, and especially I think the 10,000 hours documentary was it the 10,000 hours documentary done by Graham and all?
That's right.
Yeah.
That was it. Like that was from that point on. I think it was just, you know what I mean? Because I think people think it all started with Connor, but it didn't. It was starting kind of starting slowly before that. Like he punted it off. Like, you know what I mean? He like skyrocketed everything. But before it was kind of slowly, like, you know what I mean? But I sure remember when people didn't even know what MMA was. It was just like cage fighting at UFC. Like, you know, you do UFC, you do cage fighting. You know, it'd be like going to someone and saying, "Oh, you do Premier League" when they do football. Like, you know what I mean?
Some of the early posters were like extreme cage fighting.
It was all about blood and gore. Like, you know.
Yeah.
But it's great now to see. I think the best thing about it is because my nanny hated it. Like, my nanny despised it, which was hilarious. Like, she hated the fact that I was in it and stuff. But now I think every mother or every child would be like very happy to see that the child going into a mixed martial arts gym or a jiu-jitsu gym and kind of being like, oh, this is a very friendly and positive environment for my child. But back when I would have been going into it, my nanny and I would have thought I was going into a little fight club, and the reality was it was something that saved my life as well. Like,
Dylan, you've rightly pointed out that I am a blow-in, and nowadays you've loads of people. No, but you're right. And nowadays, like, there's so much interest and focus on Irish MMA, and every single fighter that comes up, whether, you know, from their first amateur fight, they've got people looking at them, they've got people streaming their fights, and we're probably the most, I'm very guilty of this. Like, they're the next big thing, they're the next big prospect, this one's the guy, and we're always trying to find the next guy. But there was a time when you were kind of earmarked in around 2015, 2016, you'd broken onto the pro scene. I remember Paul Kimmage did a big article on you. He was spent a bit of time, I think, in the gym in the lead up to the first Bellator event. And it was your big spot against Cameron Ellis in the 3 Arena. And you take a really tough loss in 20 seconds. Do you remember like what you were feeling around the time? And like, did you feel a pressure when that kind of label was placed on you that, you know, oh, this is going to be the next McGregor? Because that's what people were saying at the time.
Oh, I don't think at the time I noticed it. Subconsciously looking back on it now, like, obviously I would be like, probably in hindsight looking back on it now, I would probably be like, maybe it affected me as a kid. I think it was a lot of factors kind of came into play at once, especially for the Elts fight, because I had Tobin originally. You know, it wasn't Elts. Elts was a little 5-day replacement. And I was going to pull from the Tobin fight. So I was just having, I wasn't in a good space. This was all after the Ventre fight as well. So I was still kind of like mulling things over, kind of getting over, kind of, because I was like, I'd been caught in that, my ego had kind of been hurt a bit in that fight, like, you know what I mean? So I was still kind of licking my wounds on that one in the gym, and kind of, I wasn't doing the right sparring because I was worried about my chin, like, you know what I mean? Because I hadn't got rocks, so I was kind of just whatever. John wasn't really around at this time because Connor, he was kind of drifting in and out, like, you know what I mean? So that would kind of start before the Ventre fight. He was like gone for weeks and weeks. I done that out in KF, whatever the fuck. And KF wasn't even fucking KF. I was fucking doing most of my rounds with James Webb, you know what I mean? Shout out to James Webb. And then the young Ian Gary eventually came in and was one of my sparring partners for whenever I would be around, like, do you know what I mean? And whatever, I think the else fight, Tobin pulled, I was like, oh, happy days. I can pull now. Do you know what I mean? I remember thinking that to myself. I was like, I can bounce now. It's not, nobody can say that to me, like, you know what I mean? I'm just not fighting because my opponent pulled, like, you know what I mean? And then Kavanagh comes in, offers me else. I didn't even know who else was, like, you know what I mean? Never, didn't even, and at this point, still hadn't looked them up, like, you know what I mean? Kavanagh comes up to me and goes, he has a really big left hook, easily beatable. And I'm kind of sitting there looking at it now, looking back, going, I had just got caught with a load of left hooks off a fucking brown belt that wasn't famous for throwing left hooks. And now you're going to throw me in with this little young fella, or this outfit, this little parabastard, you know what I mean? That is literally known for having dynamite in his hands, and he swings a good left hook. He's a decent little striker. And I'm like, and you're throwing me in with him on 5 days' notice. I was like, so now looking back on it, obviously I'm like, Kavanagh, you're a rat, like, do you know what I mean? And I'm sitting there, and then, because obviously I didn't know that he'd done Paddy Pimblett or that either, like in 20 seconds, very similar fashion, like, you know what I mean? I think he dashed Paddy, so even worse. And then I'm like, all right, end up going in, and I'm not fucking with you. I was fucking asleep, you know what I mean? I'd love to look back at that fight and see how I was standing. I was standing like that little Polish girl, you know, that stands in the corner with her hands behind her back. And I was like hitting my heel off the side of the cage. And I remember hitting my heel so hard that I was like, ow, that hurt. And I was like, what the fuck am I doing? Like, do you know what I mean? I was just so cold. I don't know. And then I went out, got caught, and I don't know. I just went into the back and didn't even feel like, I didn't really feel mad upset, but it just felt like a real weird day. It was like I was in like a really weird bubble. Like, do you know what I mean? I was like, I don't know. And it all came down to the shit camp that I had. I had a terrible camp for it. Like, you know what I mean? I didn't do anything. My rounds were shit. As in, not me, like, as in, I was probably sparring once a week and picking a body that was probably not Peter Quealy or not Luke or not like Artem, you know what I mean? I was probably going for someone that maybe like, I knew I was better than, do you know what I'm saying? And I didn't have anyone I didn't have James standing there going, what the fuck are you doing, you fucking dickhead? Like, you know what I mean? This is what we're doing. This is how we're going to fix this. Like, you know what I mean? We're going to do this, this, and this. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, just a bit of guidance is all I ever needed. Like, even after the Ventre fight, I remember Kavanagh came up to me. I don't even think he came up to me. And when he came up to me, I called me up into the office, and he showed me like 5 or 4 clips from the fight of me like pulling and making Ventre miss and doing really well in it, and was like, this is what you should have been doing the whole fight. And I'm like, yeah, I know. So kind of like not blaming anything, just being like, I had an off night. Which is ridiculous, like, you know what I mean? My head was on the centre line. You know, I didn't bring my head off for any single strike. I threw combinations at will, like 4 and 5s. My feet were stagnant. I didn't move my feet on withdrawals. So many things, so many mistakes that I literally sat with Jimmy being told by. Do you know what I mean? And I never got told any of these after. So I'm kind of just sitting there going, it's not on me to figure out all this. I was there. I turned up to every session. I was the hardest worker on the mat. Do you know what I mean? Anyone will tell you that. You know, if you go and talk to anyone from the old school SBG days, who was the best guy on the mat, they all say me. Like, do you know what I mean? That's not like, it's not me being big-headed around. Like, Smullen, I'm better than Smullen. I'm better than fucking Kieran will tell you. Like, you know what I mean? All the lads will tell you. Tommy Martin will tell you. Oh, everyone will tell you. Artem will tell you. Fucking Ash will tell you. Anyone who doesn't want to lie will tell you the truth about it. Do you know what I mean? And I'm kind of sitting there going, I got some bad hands thrown to me, and they just landed bad. And then, you know, I took the big break off the Elds thing, which was the best thing I'd done. I came back and had a great win over Calcit, which was great. And then from Calcit, I went into fighting Sadiq Yusuf, which just, to me, makes no sense. you know what I mean? Even looking at it now, it's just kind of like, I'm like, who was guiding you? Like, who was doing this to you, young fella? I'd love to go back and just look at me and just go, whack, you know what I mean? You little toothless bastard. Look at that little young fella and go, I'm not going to take this fight because it doesn't. How do we go from 2-0 Calci to 7-1 Sadiq that then goes on to the contender seat? Where's the roadmap on this? I just look like I'm giving them visible wanks here. But where's the roadmap on all that? Like, you know what I mean? Where are we going with this little young fella? It's meant to be the next McGregor. You know what I mean? And why was it the next McGregor? Because I'm the only one out of all of us that could actually talk without trying to copy, script something that Conor said. Like, you know what I mean? That was why, and on top of it being an animal. But the main thing was that I'm authentic. I can talk a little bit. Like, you know what I mean? Now, I definitely would have tried to copy him a little bit when I was a little boy, but like I was never, you know what I'm saying? So
it's impossible not to do, Dylan, when you're in and you're amongst the company.
I think I was as real as I could be,
Yeah.
while kind of stealing a couple of little catchphrases, throwing them back out there, but still being like, I'm a scumbag from the flats, and I wear pennies all day. Like, you know what I mean? I never went out and bought Louis Vuitton belts and tried to pretend to be Conor. Like, do you know what I mean? That was never me MO. Like, I was more having a joint downside with Conor. Having a joint outside and offering it to Conor and being like, do you want one? He's like, you're fucking mad. Like, no, like, do you know what I mean? But like, whatever. Like, do you know what I'm saying? I was just a mess up. Like, I was just young for that. I've always been like that. But I definitely feel like, and I said this to James one of the first weeks when I met him, and I met little Stead Clancy, and I just looked at him. He was only 16 or 15. And I was like, this kid's shit hot, Jimmy. And I turned to him and I said to James, I go, if you had me from that age, I'd have been a double champ and I'd have been retired by now. Dunzo, see you later. Like, and he just laughed at me in typical James. I kind of, do you know what I mean? But that was kind of it. Like, sometimes you just need guidance. Like, you know what I mean? You need to be told when to slow down as well. Like, I was trying to sprint when it's a fucking marathon. Like, you know what I mean? And it was like, yeah, you know, looking back on it now, it's kind of like, just needed someone to kind of have a more firm hand on me, you know. But yeah, hindsight's a great thing.
Is this way that you look at the counselling thing, the coaching, and think that you look back and how your career started and how you maybe didn't have the guidance and feel that you could probably offer that to someone, the younger generation coming up now?
Fuck off, Quilty. Yeah, probably, yeah, definitely. You know, I think life is like that. You know, you try and it's like trying to fucking break the cycle, isn't it? I can either bat at me kids, like I was bat at, or I can try and love them and be a bit more nourishment. And the same way with coaching and stuff, you just try and fix the mistakes that happen to you or that you're seeing kind of happen along the way. And, you know, it's funny with life because life just repeats the exact same stories or, you know, the exact same circumstances, just in different perspectives by different people. And you're kind of like, it's kind of like watching an episode of a TV show that you've seen. You're like, I've seen that, but it's not the same. Like, you know, it's a knockoff version of where something's like, I've seen this before. Like, so yeah, probably like that. Yeah.
Dylan, the maybe career defining fight or the fight that everyone will look to in your career a lot of the time is the Adam Ventry fight that you talked about there. I am curious though, like you've spoken very openly about brain damage and CTE and all of that. And I wonder, like, when's the last time you've watched that one back? And like, how do you reflect on that fight? Like, because you took a lot of damage. Like you've obviously had, you know, the Else fight where, okay, you were put out, but I'd say you took a lot more damage than any other fight in that Ventry fight.
Yeah, that was like a war, like, you know what I mean? I think I've had people message me over it, like, with punch stats about it, being like, showing me the punch stats of it, like, what we both threw in the fight and stuff. It was just collision, like, you know what I mean? But I took no more damage in that fight than I took when I sparred Conor when I was 16. Do you know what I mean? I took way worse damage that night with Conor than I ever have in any other fight. And I'm not like trying to, oh, Conor battered me worse. What I'm saying is I've taken worse items in the gym that nobody's seen. So that doesn't equate to fuck all. And the whole brain thing, from where we were sitting in fucking that hotel that day over in the south side of Dublin, I don't have half as many issues with the whole brain thing now. Do you know what I mean? So I've had
brilliant.
I've had about probably, see, because I've only fought I only fought Musa. So that was what, over a year and a half ago nearly, like, do you know what I mean? Maybe not that long ago, but it's a good, June. It is over a year. Yeah, it is about a year and a half ago, like, you know what I mean? And I'm like, I haven't sparred since then. I think I've sparred once when I was meant to, because I got matched with Saul Rogers. I got offered Saul Rogers on some Qatarian card, like, you know what I mean? And I accepted him, and I was coming back in for the camp for him. And then it turned into Alex Chizoff. And I got 2 of them offers back to back. So I was coming back into camp for them, and then they fell through as quick as they came forward. Like, you know what I mean? Fell through on my end. I got offered 3-3 by the Qatarians, and I laughed at them and was like, "You can go fuck yourself." Like, I was like, "I want 10-10, like, and I want to be flown out in business class, and I want this and I want that, because you have loads of fucking dirty oil money, and I'm not stupid." Like, you know what I mean? And I was like, "I'm not sitting here taking 3-3, the same thing I got paid for on my Bellator debut, fucking 10 years ago. This is insane." Like, and then their argument back to me was, Chizoff is taking 3-3, and I was like, "That's fucking well for him. He's shy. He can take 3-3 all he wants." So, you know what I mean? And then the same with Saul Rogers. I was like, if Saul had got offered more than I would have been like, "Look, you know me, lads, I respect the vets more than anything." You know what I mean? I would have loved him to bat that Saul. Like, it would have been a great scalp for me. Like, you know what I'm saying? I remember watching Saul come over and spar Conor and Peter, and like, you know what I mean? So to me, and he's a legend of UK MMA and stuff like that. I don't really care about the UK, but you know what I mean? The whole idea, one can't be strong without the other. They do bring each other together. You know, I don't begrudge Luke Riley winning at the weekend the same way I'm not happy about Shamrock losing at the weekend. I'm upset and happy both ways, because it's good for everyone. Do you know what I mean? It's such a small fucking knit community. If one does well, we all do well. Do you know what I'm saying? But I'm just kind of like, if the money's not there, I'm not accepting it. You know what I mean? So I've had other little things where, you know what I'm saying? And I was like, fuck it, like.
Dylan, do you have any regrets for your career?
No regrets. Not even a single letter. I wish I had went to James Doolan first. But hindsight's okay. I had no regrets, because I'm in a great position in life. I don't know. Like, I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. No.
Did you change? Just going back to that last one, actually, did you change your, like, I know, okay, so you went over to James Doolan. Obviously, you attribute, you know, the growth in your skill set to working with him, but also given that you'd been through some wars in the gym, some wars or a war really in the cage, did you purposely change your fighting style to be more elusive because of that, or is it just because that's just the the way that James was fighting you?
I was always like that.
But you weren't to the same extent. It was a lot more.
I was. You was just never seeing that. So that's how I was in the gym. Like, when I would spar Artem, and when I would spar Peter, and when I would spar all the good, like, I have messages off of Peter, like, because the Calza fight was kind of the first fight you see me use my footwork. Do you know what I mean? You also have to remember, in that fight, I was extremely nervous. Like, do you know what I mean? I was like, that was the worst fight ever. Like, I was literally like a bag of nerves the whole day. Like, even in the fight, I was just like, you know what I mean? And it was the first day you kind of see me use my footwork, though. But and not even that, you not remember my fight with Adam Maguire in the Regency? No?
That was probably pre my time.
Yeah.
So I fought Adam Maguire in the Regency. I fought Aaron McGuire in the Regency, and I pure danced around him, jabbing the face off him, check hooking him, southpaw, and I kind of pressed a little bit, but I really just danced around him and pinged him to bits. I've always had that footwork. I used to watch Frankie Edgar and Dominic Cruz when I was a wee boy, because I've never had power. I have such pillow hands, like, you know what I mean? I'm really fast though. I'm like, as James would say, I'm godlike fast, like, you know what I mean? And my feet are exceptional. Do you know what I mean? But I didn't always have good feet. I just started practicing them, watching Dominic Cruz. I can imitate Dominic Cruz like really well. Like, I'll do it one time on camera. There's also videos of me skipping and shadowboxing before the Ventre fight, because like I was coming up from bantamweight, so I fought Ventre. I literally weighed 67 kilos on the day of the fight. Like, do you know what I mean? I dieted down to that. I was skipping on the day for that. So I always had that footwork. So what James fixed in me, and what people don't know, is my mentality. I used to go into fights and just want to fight. But I'm not a fighter. I'm not a tough guy. Do you know what I mean? I'm a little young fella. I got bullied. I found martial arts, and through fighting was able to kind of express myself in a different kind of way of whatever. Do you know what I mean? But I found myself. I was just, this is something I'm really good at, and you know what I'm saying? So when I would fight, instead of trying to think about going out to hurt people, which just didn't suit me because I get all aggro, which made me get tense, I was like, I'm just going to show off. I'm going to go have fun. Like, I remember when my first coach said, let's just go have fun. Who cares? Win, lose, or draw. Once I have fun, what does it matter? Do you know what I mean? And I would. I'd just go out and I had fun. And by me going out and having fun, I would move my feet. Do you know what I mean? And I just carried that into the fight more once I wasn't so pent up. You know what I mean? Because I'm good going forward. I'm not terrible going forward. I'm just more acceptable. Do you know what I'm saying? And especially when I go forward on someone in the first 2 minutes. So I kind of always had that footwork. I couldn't emulate it. I couldn't bring it into the cage. And then I just had James in my ear. Like, I don't know what it was. But James was just like, don't fight with these cunts. Like, you know what I mean? That's what James just kept saying to me. And especially the Conor Hughes fight, which I think is my best. You know what I mean? For me, that was like almost like a coming out party for me. Like, you know what I mean? Where everyone was like, so all the rumours are true. Like, you know what I'm saying? Because I think up until that fight, everyone was like, he's all right, like, you know what I mean? But he's not what people say, like, you know what I'm saying? But that fight was like, right, we can see it now, do you know what I mean? And that was just him in the air being like, when you fight with people, you make it even. But when you go out there and do you and just move and groove, he's like, you make a show of people. I think one of the things that James said to me is like, I've only ever seen a handful of people in the gym do to people what you can do. He's like, well, you can just mesmerize them and move around them and beat them, but barely touching them, barely moving. He's like, that's an art in itself. He's like, everyone would kill for that. Do you know what I mean? And then once I just kind of was like, I took that on, and then like I remember even before the Millsap fight, Jimmy's like, you've got the best footwork in the game. You know what I mean? Best footwork in the game, best footwork in the game. And that was then I don't know, it just clicked. You know what I mean? But that was something I should have always been doing. I done that before the Mark Andrew fight, and even in the Adam Caffey fight, I was very bouncy and moving on my feet with the Caffey fight too. Like, do you know what I mean? I just think you get caught up trying to chase knockouts and trying to chase, you know, people loving you or whatever. I don't know what it was. And I don't know, but I always use my feet like that. Like, you know, how do you think I survived with Peter Queally and fucking Artem Lobov and fucking Philip Mulpeter all these fucking years? You think I stood in front of them like I didn't fight? Fucking hell, man, I wouldn't be able to slur a sentence together if I trained like that for years. I would have just been getting hopped off the floor with them cunts. Like, you know what I mean? I used to be scurrying around the mat. They used to hate me. Paddy used to say, I jab you from the stall in the bathroom. As in, I'd run into the toilet and be jabbing you from over the stall because I'd just be running around the mat. Like, you know what I mean? But yeah, we all do what we have to do.
Dylan, a lot of fighters will make the decision to retire, maybe off a string of losses, maybe not feeling that they can't compete at a top level anymore. Was it important to you, and does it make you feel good that you've done it based off 2 really good wins in PFL against tough competition?
Dominant wins. Nobody's ever done that to little Musa. Musa's off like doing jogs and all over in Dubai now after me. Like, see what I done to him? Like, you know what I mean? Turned him into influence. I'm out. Yazid, he's fucked. Do you know what I mean? Conor's doing well, but like that was that was an extremely dominant win by me. Like, you know what I mean? So I don't know. I feel nice. I feel alright. Do you know what I mean? It's better than going off 2 losses, like you said. I could be coming out here. And the thing is, what I've been saying, I'm going out on my own terms. I may not fucking have it. I may not have it from the sport, as in money-wise. I may not have it the show for it. But I tell you one thing, I left my mark. You know what I mean? So like John Gotti says in the end of that film, it's like they're gonna remember John Gotti. You know what I mean? 20 years from now, they'll wish they had a John Gotti. I'll be like, so I don't know. Like I feel like, you know, I did it my own way. I didn't piggyback off at anyone. You know what I mean? I didn't lick balls. So if I had sucked Kavanagh off a little bit more, you know what I mean? And I hadn't made a lot of more issues and just being difficult, I probably would have got further. But like, that's not my style. And I'm kind of like, you know, I would have liked him to go out with more of with a bigger record. That's one thing that really annoys me, because I feel like inactivity ruined me a little bit. Obviously, COVID a bit, but just in general, I would like to have had maybe a 16-4 record. Do you know what I mean? Like double the amount of wins I have. But I think the fact that I have all my wins over solid opposition, you know, I think beside Calza and obviously Mark Andrew going off the radar and losing, but when I fought them, they were highly touted. So I've never had anyone that's a little jobby on my record. So I'm proud of that one more than anything. Do you know what I mean?
Dylan, the scene has changed a lot since you started. If you were to,
Who are you telling?
If you were to,
I
let's say
fucking hate them. I hate them. I'm like the Grinch at Christmas. I don't hate Christmas. I hate the people.
If you were just starting your career right now, what way would you want to navigate it?
Go to James Dillon. I'd be like Suge Knight up at that stage. You have all them producers that want to be in the video and want to be seen. Come to Death Row. You know, I don't know. If I was a young fella now, I would heavily little what's his name? Simon Solomon.
Simon.
The main man, little beast. He's up for that. Congrats on the big win. Delighted for him. But I didn't realise that he was a farmer working full time. And who posted this? Someone posted this, like that he basically has a mad day, like, do you know what I mean, of what he does all day, and he works full time, and then basically MMA is a hobby. Do you know what I mean? And I don't mean that as an insult to him. Do you know what I mean? I mean as in, like, he only does it part time, as in halfway through the day, because he works full time. Do you know what I'm saying? So he can't do both full time. That's impossible. So you have to be half time one way. That is the way to go. That's the way to go. Him and Conor McCartney, the way that they're all doing it, and Conor blessed that he has someone like Peter looking after him. You know what I mean? The same way that the KF boys with Chris, and the same way with the Houlihan clan, that they all have Paddy. You know what I mean? And obviously, where's my mind at? The OG, you know, the original, the pound for pound greatest in Irish MMA history, Owen Roddy, looking after his boys over in the Finglas area. And then obviously Team Rhino with Andy, and they have Paul, and they have Neil down there. You know, so they're all, I think the guidance that everyone has around them now is better than the guidance that we all had coming up. Do you know what I mean? They have a lot of really good people around them that are going to steer them in the right way, that I was steered by Peter and stuff as well. You know what I mean? And obviously Ash just doesn't take a hand with the MMA thing. But yeah, I think going the way that Simon does it, and going the way that, like, these guys are doing it, whereas, like, they're obviously building to the point to where they can go full time. Like that bloke that was fought in the UFC, was it last weekend or the weekend before? He came in on a week's notice. Really good guy.
Ewing or something,
yeah, that's the one. He beat that up and coming 10-0 guy, the little fella with the good, Wellmaker with the check hook. Like him, and he's gone back and working on site this weekend. Now he's saying that he's kind of moving parts so he can go full time. I think that's the way to do it. If I could recommend anyone to do it, like, it would to do it that way. Have this as your second option, and if it goes really well, then you can turn it into your first option and kind of whatever. But not bank.
Would you chase UFC still?
Yeah, I'd still chase the UFC. Yeah, PFL and all. Not bad, the PFL. Crock of shit though. Do you know what I mean? Like, they're gonna give you, like, and this is the thing. I don't know if I was getting 5-5 when I first started on PFL, and they want you to go back onto 5-5. Like, I only finished with Musa on 8-8, and that's dollars. So I got 9,900 after getting taxed and all. Like, do you know what I mean? But that's not that good. Like, it's not amazing. That's not really spectacular money. And I think one of the reasons why they're cutting everyone is because they're trying to give everyone different contracts. You know what I mean? And this isn't a fault of PFL. The fault lies solely on the UFC. You know, the UFC have monopolized this, where they are the best organization in the world. If they set the standard of where we are going to give you 10 and 10, why the fuck would any other show do it? Do you know what I mean? Because they can't afford to. If they were different of, like, where they could pay you to bring you in and kind of get you to do it, like, do you know what I mean? But they can't, because they'll end up being bankrupt. Do you know what I mean? Very quickly. And it's the same as all the other regional shows, like, unless you're talking Octagon and FNC and stuff. But then you're talking, they're their own market, like KSW and all. That's their own market. They don't even compete with the UFC. They sell out so much in the Baltic regions and sell out so much in Poland that it's kind of like they don't give a fuck. You know what I'm saying? But whereas if I go in there and try and go in there, I don't speak the language, so I'm just being brought in as a bad guy. You know what I mean? That they're like ping pong on the weekend. They love him, and then when he gets beaten, they love that even more. You know what I mean? but they'll use him for all the views because he can talk and because he can sell. But when they actually want him to get knocked out, they want that to happen to him so they can push it. Like, do you know what I mean? That's what they want. So it's kind of like, it's a very hard climate to navigate in, and it's kind of like, it's gotten a lot difficult now, like more difficult now than it was when I was coming up with Bama and all. It was kind of like a saving grace. But I would definitely push anyone to go to the UFC, not the Contender Series, kind of avoid that. But definitely the UFC, like I would just be putting all my eggs into that basket. And if it didn't work out, if you still kind of wanted to have a little career where you wanted to fight, then you could kind of go and, all right, I'm going to have a look at other promotions. But, you know, I think Ian Gary says it great. He's like, no one wakes up and wants to be a PFL champion. Do you know what I mean? No one gets into this sport going, I want to be a Bellator champion. They do, everyone. The same when I was younger. I didn't get into this going, I wanted to be in the PFL. I wanted to be one champion. I wanted to be a WSOF or anything like that. No, I got into this going, I wanted to be a UFC champion. I'd be lying to you if I said otherwise. I'm not one for lying. Like, do you know what I mean? I don't want to make myself look great. I want to make myself look honest always. Do you know what I'm saying? And I would push that. And the best road for that, and as much as I hate Cage Warriors, the best road for that is Cage Warriors. It's the truth. I hate Cage Warriors. I hate the way they match the fights and all. I hate the way the management and all managers, and like even the way Clancy's fighting this little Dutch guy, you know, when he could have murked fucking all these other welterweights that didn't want to get any, like, do you know what I mean? But they should have been getting it. Burlinson's over in fucking Qatar making weight when he should be defending his belt. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, there's just all this mad shit that I'm just kind of like, this is all fucking weird. Like, do you know what I mean? That feels like a soap opera sometimes. You're like, this is fucked up.
Dylan, what's your take on how people, I guess, when they start their careers now, they would tend to, I guess, fight not cans, but lesser opponents than when you would have started. When you started, you're going against legit guys.
You wait there. You're going to be surprised at my answer, but I'm letting my baby out to go pee. It's fucking raining in Mongols. I agree with it. I think that's what people should do. I think everyone should be taking that little, like, and I'm not being bad to Lewis McGrillen, but like what Lewis was doing, just making cunts, and then you build up a big profile, and then when you have to fight decent guys, you fight them when they come. Do you know what I mean? We should, especially when you look at who I fought coming up. Fucking, like, my first fight was with Caffrey. Caffrey was like 12-2 with 3 titles, killing everyone on bantamweight and flyweights all over Ireland. Like, do you know what I mean? And that was my first fight. But now when you see, like, say the likes, I don't know. I really don't keep up to date with a lot of guys. But like most guys who have debuts are like shit debuts. Like Chris Morris on the weekend had a real tough fucking debut. Like, you know what I mean? Then there's just guys that just have tough debuts. But like most guys come in and they squash them. Like, you know what I mean? Like, especially, like, it's very obvious on Cage Warriors. Cage Warriors just bring in these Brazilian guys just to get battered. Like, you know what I mean? But yeah, I would agree. I would tell everyone to just do what's the easiest road to get there. Like, because you have to remember, like, you could be sparring to a hard level in the gym. Like, you know what I mean? So I could be sparring and doing really good in the gym and whatever. And then I could just be fighting these guys, but I'm of that level, but I don't have to show it because I'm not getting paid that money to show it. And then kind of when I get to that level of where I'm getting the money for it, just go and fight then. Do you know what I'm saying? So I would be all for guys just not fighting cans up until you're 8-0 and then get in. Then it's going to be very hard. Do you know what I mean? But fighting like decent, all right opposition, but not like, and slowly building. Like, you know what I mean? I think Clancy is a great example. I don't think Clancy's had any easy fights. Do you know what I mean? I think all of them have been gradual step ups of where you're going up and up and up, and even that, like, the last 2 guys that have been tough Brazilians, like, do you know what I mean, with really high experience records. So you're kind of like, that's that gradual progression, and then he's just going to go on and on. Like, do you know what I'm saying?
You mentioned the Adam Caffrey fight there. What was it like being, you were 19 at the time, walking out in front of a 3 arena for a professional fight?
To party people. Oh, what a chill. And I danced out. It was class. It was unreal. It was amazing. I just remember I grew up now. I remember being like a dog and a pit bull before it, going out. I was like dancing in the hallway. And obviously the documentary was getting shot at the same time. I'd love to have that documentary. Graham, or wherever you are, will you send that to me, bro? That was nostalgic looking back on that. I think I have videos of my man or my mammy. Like, will you get me that if you can? Yeah, what was killing, man? Like a superstar. You know, getting filmed shadow boxing and all in Fairview Park. It was like surreal, man. And then the whole event was unreal. Like, you know, was electrifying. That was like none of the events were kind of like that as much. And then obviously my return felt like that again. Like, you know what I mean? That was like that atmosphere was like, whoa, this is amazing. But yeah, it was class. It was really cool. And then Adam was a tough guy. You know what I mean? And I didn't like him, like, you know what I mean? Because I didn't like anyone from Rush. I didn't like Paul. I was on that, like, I'm like that do or die. Like, you know what I mean? It's like a cult, like, Melt Handle do. I was like, you know, SBG, fuck you. I was like, I don't like you. I was like, you know what I mean? So it was a good win to have. And he had beaten Blaine a couple of times. So it meant a little bit more to me to kind of batter him and then, like, kind of like, I got that back for Blaine, like, you know what I mean? Blaine O'Driscoll, for anyone who didn't know.
Dylan, you mentioned Ian a couple of times in this. He obviously had an amazing win there over Bilal Muhammad. Are you surprised to where he's gotten to?
No, he's an exceptional talent. He's a fake cunt, but he's an exceptional talent. Like, you know what I mean? He's like, and I think this is, I don't understand this. The cunt's had 150 amateur boxing fights. He went over and fought in the Europeans and all. He's a legit judo black belt, like a genuine legit judo black belt. Do you know what I mean? Nobody knows this about him. It's like these are all little kept secrets, but like the young fella's like, he's solid, like, you know what I mean? He can groove, like, he can move. He's a solid little fighter. You know what I mean? I remember a little, like, because it's funny to me, because I remember Ian as a wee boy, like, because he used to be around my nanny's area where my nanny used to live. Do you know what I mean? Knew him through Craig Bonney, another amateur boxer who boxed with him at the same time. You know what I mean? Even back then he could box. You know what I mean? He was fucking tiny, but he could box. Do you know what I mean? So I'm not surprised at all. He's had very favourable matchups. Do you know what I mean? He's done that thing, like, he hasn't had easy matchups, but like, come on, nobody thought Bilal was going to beat Ian this weekend. If Shavskat, I always butcher his name. If Shavskat was struggling to take Ian down, he was a way bigger, a way better, way younger, way more dynamic grappler. Shut up! How was little Bilal going to take him down? That, you know what I mean? The only thing Bilal had going from at the point was the fact that he went to Islam's team or Khabib's team. He got hella roidy. You could see it. He got full of juice. You know what I mean? He came out stacked. And he asserted this dominance pressure where they can just go for 5 rounds without stopping because they're all on EPO, like, allegedly. But it's not alleged because they are all on EPO because they all pop for it, like, you know what I mean? So it's just that was all that was with him. Like, but you see him with Ian, Ian slapped the head off him. No takedown was really close. Maybe one takedown was kind of close. At one point, I thought Ian could have taken him down. Yeah, I know. I knew he was going to do really well. Like, you know what I mean? I always said it to him. He used to get lifts home off him. Like, I was his biggest fan before he was. You know what I mean? Whatever. You know what I mean?
How much do you think he's developed as a fighter since? Because obviously, you know, it's been a number of years since you would have trained him.
Not much. He's the exact same fighter. Like, you know what I mean? Chris gave him a great base. Chris really did give him a really good base, and to me, he looks everything. He doesn't look like, I don't know. I think if you take the fight from him and James Sheen, he doesn't look any different. Like, do you know what I mean? Does he? Like, you know what I mean? It's kind of identical fights. I know they're very different opponents, but he doesn't look. He's just good footwork, good boxing. His kicks are always good and dynamic. You know, like I said, legit judo black belts. You don't take judo black belts down easily, especially when they're legit. Like, that's common knowledge. You know, look at Carl Parisian back in the day. He was fucking a nightmare, even though he was fucking built like a bag of milk. You know what I mean? I knew he did, and I think he'll do really well against Islam as well. I think Islam will just double leg him. I think the same issue that Ian will have will be the same issue that Paul had. They're really good at defending against the cage. They're really good at defending the clinch and the upper body clinch and like kind of that body lock. You know what I mean? But when they shoot in the double, that's the issue. Like, you know, so I think that'll be a similar thing. Islam will recognize, like, you're great against defense, so I'm just going to shoot, you know. But getting Ian down will be hard. He's so fucking big, man. He's huge, like, you know what I mean? He's deceptively big. Like, I think you don't realize how big he is on telly, but then when you stand beside him, like, he's fucking huge, like, you know what I mean?
100%. Dylan, we've kept you for a long time here. I've got 2 more questions for you.
You was keeping me for as long as you want. I was coming on here thinking that I was just going to talk about all the fights with us and all, so don't be stressing, like, you know what I mean? like I said, I don't have a life. I just coach now.
Well, the first thing that you said in your Instagram post announcing your retirement was "What a life," and then you went on to say it's time to let the Nuke rest easy. And you've, throughout your career, you've referred to obviously your fight name, the Nuke, and almost as an alter ego. So, how do you let that go?
I don't know. I don't know. It's kind of. I don't know. It's because I've obviously known for a couple of months, but then once I posted the post, it was kind of like that. It was kind of like it was real then, you know what I mean? And I was like, oh fuck, you know what I mean? But I don't know. I don't really have it in me, to be honest. Like I think James, because I think we had kind of said I wasn't going to post that. Do you know what I mean? Just in case offers came. But I really was getting annoyed at people asking me and just annoying me, and I was just like. I kind of came to terms with it. Do you know what I mean? I was like, if I don't fight again, I was kind of like, like I said, it's not like I'm coming off this big activity stint. You know what I mean? Where I've been flat, having 4 to 3 fights every year. I haven't fought in over a year. Like, do you know what I mean? I hadn't got an offer to fight until the Belfast card where they offered me John Mitchell. Like, do you know what I mean? Accepted that. Got injured literally the day that I accepted it. Fucked my shoulder. Had to pull out of that. And then I wasn't getting another offer until... Moe, shut up! I wasn't getting another offer until they were going to get me out in the November or something, which would have been this year. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. They were going to get me out on the November, which would have been like this month. And it was like, then it was going to be the September or the October. I was meant to have Donovan Desmay. And I was like, all right, whatever. Like, no, I don't really fucking know him. Former Cage Warriors, title challenge or whatever. I was like, whatever. Do you know what I mean? And then they offered me some little French Chechenian guy coming off an 0-2. And I was just kind of like, what? There's no roadmap for me, you know what I mean? And then I was looking at, like, Derek Kelly was getting opportunities and you have Nate Kelly flying over. And I'm looking at that. I'm like, I'm 10 times what they are. Do you know what I mean? So I'm like, if they're flying, not to shit on the lads would know that themselves. Like, you know what I mean? And it's kind of like, they're getting all these opportunities. I'm kind of just getting left here to wait. I'm like, all right, I'm just not in favour at the moment. And that's just how it is. And you know what I mean? I was like, whatever. Do you know what I'm kind of saying? I was kind of like, I'm just kind of, I was kind of like just looking around. I was like, if everyone's, you know what I mean? I was like, people are getting opportunities in this and I'm just not. I was kind of just like, no point. You know what I'm saying? Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like when you talk about the Nuke, like is it is it a different mentality, like? Or...
No, not really, like, because he's always there. Because I'm just like kind of like a bit of a, like, I kind of have that little, like, because the Nuke is a weird one, because the Nuke didn't develop for fighting. Do you know what I mean? The Nuke was kind of like, the Nuke was that young fella that protected me in the flats. Do you know what I mean? So that was who took the hidings. That was who starved in the gaff. That was who went cold in the gaff. That was who suffered. But I switched that head on to get me through that. Do you know what I mean? And that was just my alter ego of, like, the Nuke then just got the name put on him by Artem one day, and that was me. Oh, that's a Nuke. But I've always kind of had that little dark cunt in my head. Like, do you know what I mean? I am very much. A lot of people will tell you that I can be the nicest cunt one minute and the worst cunt the next minute, because it is like two different cunts. Do you know what I mean? It's not. I obviously, I'm not saying I'm a schizo or anything. Do you know what I mean? But I would like. I don't know. That kind of ego was just there to manage bad times, you know. And then I still have him there because I don't think I can ever get rid of him. He's like my protector. Do you know what I mean? When I was on my own in the gaff or whatever, he was there so it was the two of us. So he'll never leave. And I don't think he'll ever leave anyone. I think even Dustin Poirier is saying, like, he's having a hard time going to retirement now at the moment. I think he's heavy boozing and stuff, you know what I mean?
It's an ingrained, it's kind of an ingrained defense mechanism in some things.
Yeah, you'll know this yourself, man. You fought. You know what I mean? You have to create this alter ego in your head. You have to, because I'm a little bitch. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm tough or whatever, and everyone will think, well, I just spent the first 10 minutes of this thing crying. You know what I mean? I'm not like, but like Nuke won't cry. You know what I mean? Nuke stood there firm at the funeral. Do you know what I mean? Like, so I had to give a speech at me ma's funeral. I didn't cry the whole time through the whole day of the funeral. Do you know what I mean? And the only time I cried is when I got back to, and I'm not saying this in a macho way, I literally spent nothing but days and days. You see me, you can imagine what it was like. Do you know what I mean? That Nuke had to go on at that funeral. The Nuke stood there at the funeral, not Dale, because Dale couldn't have got through that. Do you know what I mean? So he'll always be there to protect me through hard times, through all that. I'll always have that. I just won't have it as in the competitive nature, but in the terms of fighting is so scary. Do you know what I mean? That if I was to just go in like this, and I think I have went into fights like this, like where I've been cold and I haven't had the Nuke on my shoulder going, I'm ready to take over. And I've went in cold and got slept, or I've went in and had a bad performance or whatever. So I'll always have them there. But I think, no, I think the only reason why I'm kind of, I'm a little bit at ease with it is because of the inactivity. If I was more active and I was sitting there going, I've been out constantly, I'd be kind of struggling sitting here as a normal cunt, but I spent more time as a normal cunt the last while than a big fighter. Do you know what I'm saying? If that makes sense.
How do you know that this is it? Like, we see so many fighters coming back out. Is this going to be another MMA retirement? or do you see yourself?
You're reading this fucking guy. You're reading my fucking mind. I don't know. Maybe I come back. Look, Artem's just had to announce a comeback. If the Russian hammer,
you're unretired already. This is the start.
If the prospect feel I can come back, I can come back, innit?
We've got an hour 17 minutes in this interview, and you've already unretired.
I can come back if I want. No, I think what Jimmy said to me the other day is like, "Are you happy with this?" And I was like, "No, I'm not happy with this. This isn't how I wanted all this to go." Like, do you know what I mean? I've just came to terms with this and went, okay, like I can be happy with everything that's happened, but I'm not happy that I don't want to fight. I don't get to fight. I want nothing more than to fight and compete. Like if like a company came to me now and was like, look, we will give you 20, 20, 25, 15 and 15 to start off, and here's a little path, and this is where we wanted to go, I would have jumped all over it. If I had seen numbers on a sheet that were like, my fucking worth. I've spent 17 years grafting in this motherfucker. You know what I mean? I've spent 17 years busting my fucking balls, giving my fucking life to this. And you expect me to take 1,500 quid for a scrap? So you expect me to make 1,500 quid when some other dickhead can get that at 1,800 or 2 grand for working in a fucking Tesco? You know what I mean? But I have to put my life on the line. I have to come out here and do all this and do all that and be this entertaining little dope with a fucking, I used to be toothless and I'm still fucking rootless and I can fucking talk better and all this. I meant to come out here and sell my soul for pennies so you can make all this fucking money off me. Oh, we don't make any money off you. Then why the fuck are you doing it? Do you know what I'm saying? I don't want to not fight. I want nothing more than to compete. I love it. It's me dying. It's everything, and I'm great at it. I love going out there and showing up. But the whole idea behind this is I'm not willing to go out there and fight for pennies. I'm not willing to go out there and be taken advantage of. I'm not willing to go out there and fatten some other dickhead's pocket that's sitting out there getting sprayed by my fucking blood. Do you know what I'm saying? I'm not in for. I don't want to do that anymore. I'm not willing to go on to another apprenticeship where they go and I sit in some little shit show where they go and have 3 or 4 fights, and then Uncle Dana comes along and a little fucking Hunter Campbell comes along and goes, you are now worthy of 10 and 10 off of us, mate. Come on in. Do you know what I mean? Fuck off. Then I'm 31, 32 at that point. Do I go on EPO now? Do you know what I mean? Do I start juice then? Because now I have to compete with all these. You were telling me I couldn't bat that Moicano. Honest to God, 3 of you sitting there telling me I wouldn't bat that Dan Hooker. On God, tell me right now, because if you can tell me right now, I'll happily shut the phone and be done with it. Tell me I wouldn't bat that about them. Tell me I wouldn't. Obviously, I fucking would. That's the whole fucking point. I'm just not doing it from you. You were telling me I wouldn't have had a good fight like off them cunts that Shamrock was fighting on the weekend. Like, come on, like you're telling me I'm not of that level. No, I know I'm of that level. I'm just not willing to do it anymore for the shit money. And yeah, if someone came along to me and went, here you go, deal. Here's 25 and 25. 50 fucking grand if you win, bro. And if you don't win, there's 25 grand. Whatever the tax or whatever. Would I jump on it? Fucking right, I jump on it. I'd be like, yeah, there's me worth. All right. That's all I ever fucking wanted. And I didn't want to then, like with PFL, they gave me a nice little contract of 8 and 8. Oh, Dan Hardy, can I suck you off, bro? Thank you. Gave me 8 and 8. Nice one. It was sound. I went up to 10 and 10. I was going to go up. but they make you like they're like, I shouldn't have given that. I'm getting in trouble for giving you that. I'm like, bro, it's 16 grand. It's fucking pennies. Like, what are you talking about? And then you have Sean O'Connell in the back saying you can do more, criticizing. You're the commentator. Fuck you. Like, you know what I mean? You're living on millions. You're loaded. You're willing, you want me to go out here and risk this against this juiced up moose who's stacked at 38 still, full of power, and you want me to risk 8 grand means a lot to me, mate. Do you know what I mean? So 16 means a lot to me. Do you know what I'm saying? So I just was kind of like, I have all these guys kind of influencing me style. I've now brought me style into the gym because of James Doolan. Me boxing is better than ever. Me head is off the centre line. I'm better at me wrestling. Look at the wrestling, guys. And still, to no avail, I still do not get paid. So I'm kind of just sitting there going, it's not going to happen. But I am not saying I don't want this. And this is one of the things I've sat here having conversations. I'm not saying I don't want to fight. Like, to the contrary, all I want to do is fight. All I want to do is compete. Do you know what I'm saying? But it's just not worth it. It's not feasible. It doesn't make any sense. And at 34, I don't want to, and no offense to any of these guys. Like, guys that I came up that are still fighting, like Tim Wilde was fighting on the weekend at Cage Warriors. Battered some young fella that he wasn't meant to batter, but I don't want to be Tim Wilde. No offense to Tim Wilde. He's a vet, he's an animal, like, fuck. He had a stellar, but way better career than I'll ever have. Do you know what I'm saying? But I don't want to be that, having to go out at 38, 39 and go out and fight on a Saturday and for pennies. Do you know what I mean? I don't want that. That's not what I want. Like, it's the same way with, like, you know, I'd be sitting here with like loads of grizzly vests that I've seen come up over the years, like the Brad Wheelers, like, do you know what I mean? That were once going to be this special guy, and now these foreign shows are just bringing them in to build that guys. Like, do you know what I mean? And you're sitting there and praying when they're fighting that you want them to get the win, like, because it's not that they don't have the skill around, it's just that, like, time passes us all, and I don't want to be that guy where I only have one viable option, and I'm kind of just sitting here now, and I'm looking around me, and I'm going, in 6 years' time, am I going to be in a better position if I go and do what I'm doing now? Or if I keep batting against the wall? And I'm kind of just like, I can't do that. Now, if some show came, and I'm not saying now, like, fucking hell, like, if some show rings me tomorrow and goes to me and gives me all the teams, I'm probably going to sit there and have a chat with James and be like, is this what I want? I don't know. I have a different thought. But I don't want to not fight. I'm not retiring because I don't want to not fight. I'm retiring because I don't want to deal with the climate. I don't want to deal with the bullshit. I don't want to just be, at this rate, all right, I am fighting for notoriety. I am fighting because I have a tick, and I am fighting for people to think I'm a professional fighter. I am fighting for people when I go home to come up and ask for a picture with me, but they have more money in their bank account than me. That's embarrassing. That's a joke. I'm a professional athlete who, in my opinion, is one of the best. I am one of the best guys to ever come out of Ireland. There's no doubt about that. Technically, 100%. Do you know what I mean? Top 10. No, what? Top 5 in my head. No question about it. Do you know what I'm saying? I know me worth. If I'm not going to get it, I'm just going to go, okay, cool, I'm bouncing. And I'm not going to get it. Do you know what I mean? Like, even if you look at Octagon now, like, I could have signed with Octagon, but they're not going to sign me. They have Frimpong there. They have Smullen there, both in my division. Why are they just going to sign me? They already have 2 people that can fulfill what they want without having me as a headache. You're telling me that Smullen and Frimpong aren't easier to work with than me? Do you know what I mean? I am a bit of a headache. I know I am. As well sit here and I'll talk and I'll whatever. But that is literally essentially it. I want nothing more than to fight. I just don't want to feel like I'm being taken advantage of, like every fighter is. I'm not saying this isn't me. We're all being taken advantage of. Every single fighter that fights on every single card, domestically to internationally, is being taken advantage of. That's the truth. Nobody says it because everyone's afraid to say it, but that's the truth. You're like, I can't. Nobody can come up and argue with me and give me facts back at that. Do you know what I mean? Nobody can. You can't. The numbers don't fix. Even the fact that, like, with Dana trying to do reverse the Ali Act in his new boxing promotion, that tells you everything you need to know. That he's not. He's also came out and said he hates protesting. He finds protesting doesn't solve anything. Of course you say that. You do not allow trade unions within your sport, which means your biggest fear is the same biggest fear that Vince McMahon had back in the day when he fell out with Jesse the Body Ventura, is his fighters unionizing and walking out before a big card. Of course you don't like protesting. That's the only way that any of this will ever change. And like, I bring up that thing of, that was Hulk Hogan. No, not even, I don't care about that, rest in peace. Hulk Hogan was the one who ratted out Jesse Ventura, because there's no unions in wrestling either in the WWE. There's no unions. Like, but that was stopped by Hogan ratting out to McMahon, because Hogan was taking in the vast amount of money and he didn't care about the lads. But Jesse did. Jesse was obviously politician and stuff. I think he ended up being a congressman, and I think he might have been a mayor of his state at one stage or something. Very intelligent guy, great guy. Wanted to unionise. We're all going to walk out before WrestleMania 2 or WrestleMania 1 or something. Ended up getting caught for it. But that's the only way the UFC is ever going to change. You know what I mean? You have this White House card. You have all them cunts before it. If we ain't fighting, that's the only way it's ever going to change. You get the contracts written up to death the night before it. They sign it. You know what I mean? So, and that isn't going to happen in my time. Because, and this is the thing that is, fighters are so broke. So we're fighting against each other for pennies. Do you know what I mean? I'm one of the only few fighters that tell other fighters what I'm making. I'm literally just like, I tell you out straight what I'm getting. Because I want you to get it. If I know you're getting 5 and 5, I'm going to tell you I'm getting 8 and 8 so you can get 8 and 8. Do you know what I'm saying? That, and you can ask fighters across the board about this. John Mitchell, I've told him what I'm getting, to what he should ask for. You know what I mean? Because I think he was the same. They were trying to put him on a 5 and 5. I'm on that, boys. I want all of us to get paid. I don't want me to just get paid, and I'm not just bitching because of me. I'm also looking at everyone around me, and as well as that, I'm looking at other little kids like Aaron and Carl and fucking Steg and Coy and all that are coming up, and they're like, I can see the look in their eyes. You know what I mean? You look like me. I remember that look. That was me once upon a time, and I don't want you to be my age and feel like you got fucked. Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah, long-winded there, but I'm not. I don't want to retire from the life. I just am retiring from the bullshit. But fuck, if I could fight, I never want to stop fighting. Look at me, fucking. My whole realm is like I'm fucking. How do I turn this fucking camera? Like my whole realm is fucking devoted to just me. Like.
We see a blank screen. Oh.
Sorry, that's a wagon. My whole realm is devoted to just me. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just pictures of Nuke. Do you know what I mean? I love
It's
this.
no
This.
longer a viable career option. Well, look, Dylan, I think you've made a brilliant impact on the Irish. If this is it, like the impact that you've made has been brilliant in Irish MMA. It's been an absolute pleasure to watch your career from afar, and to follow along the ups and the downs. And the last question that I'd have for you is, let's say I go out to someone in the street, an MMA fan, you know, on an MMA show in Ireland, and I ask them, you know, Dylan Tuke's after retiring, what do you think of his career? What do you think? How do you think the average person summarizes your career?
One of the biggest underachievers to ever grace the sport. That's a pretty good way of. One of my best mates said that to me the other day. I'm an extremely underachiever. I'm not wrong. You ain't gonna hurt my feelings by agreeing with me on that. Like. I grew up with Ashland Daly telling me that I wasn't a purple belt the night that I got my purple belt. You know, I'm very much black and white with this. I'm an extremely underachiever. I think if you went back 10 years and asked someone where I would have been in 10 years now, they would have said a lot different. As in, like, maybe like title stuff and all, like they would have been like, oh no, he's gonna, you know what I'm saying? So I would say a big gigantic underachiever, a big gigantic letdown.
Well, Dylan, look, we've kept you for an hour and a half now. Appreciate it.
We've kept you for an hour.
It's been a bit of both. But look, we always appreciate you coming on. You keep it real as always. And look, this isn't the end. We'll have you on again. And there's plenty more to chat about.
I think I'm gonna need to get my own fucking podcast to have a full bitch about everything I want to bitch about. The only thing is, I know I'll be cancelled in a week. Dylan, you're not allowed to speak against Israel. Oh, why? They're fucking cunts. Dylan, you're not allowed to speak about Zionism either, but they're cunts.
Dylan,
guys,
we appreciate you
for having me. One final thing: there is still no ceasefire in Palestine. Israel are bombing innocent children and innocent women and innocent men every day of the week. Free Palestine. From the river to the sea.
Thanks for the time, Dylan.
Bye.
Catch you again soon.
Have a good one, guys.
Thanks.
Bye.